Do it live.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's your bro. Damn, that was a violent shut off of the music.
Bro, yeah, man. You
That was very violent.
DJ skills over there, bro?
Is that because, well, Rocco did say he was a DJ. Was it violent because of the violent downturn of cryptocurrency? Anyways, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Sin City Crypto. My name is David. I'll be one of your co-hosts. And today, like every single day, we're coming at you live from our studio here in Las Vegas. We have a packed show for you today. Another hearing, another round of crypto talk is happening, this time with CFTC Chairman Rostin Behnam. Spoke in front of the Senate Agricultural Committee. What did he say? What questions were asked? We're going to talk about that. Also, Gary Gensler has done an op-ed. No HR video yet, but he did speak on crypto. We're going to cover that. We're also going to cover Mt. Gox. Good news, as the largest creditor of Mt. Gox is planning on hodling. So don't be worried. There is no Mt. Gox dump coming, but there is another dump coming. We'll talk about that. But first, let me introduce you to your other co-host, Robin.
Hola! It's your boy, Big Rob, back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto. If it's your first time checking us out, where you been all your life? Huh?
Where have you been?
You've been missing out. Because here at Sin City Crypto, we take the old, boring, and stale information and package it up in a fun and sexy way.
Man, I'm pumped today, bro. You
For
pumped?
real?
I'm juiced up today, man. I'm excited.
Okay.
My limit buy order on some alts and some Bitcoin.
Ooh.
Need a little more downside though, just a little bit. And if
So what
you
you're
guys are
saying
not
is you're
excited,
hoping people lose their money. That's what you're saying in our space?
you don't lose your money unless you sell. Unless Biden's new thing goes through and then we get taxed on unrealized gains, which we'll talk about that too. So apparently capital gains taxes are going to 40%.
That sounds reasonable, right? Hey, I made money. Give me half. Like, in what crooked ass society are we
I'm
living
an American president now. I want half.
You know, the messed up thing is if we actually had some like trust in our government officials and politicians and how they spend our tax dollars, if they were like, oh, we're gonna, I don't know what they would use the money on, but maybe people would be more receptive for you taking more than half of their capital gains.
Not more than half. It's 40%, which we like to round up to half. It's getting closer to 50.
Nice round number. But before we get into,
in what world does that make any sense?
well, especially with inflation so high, maybe. No, never mind, because they get capital gains tax on that too. I was trying to put my tinfoil hat on, but there's no tinfoil left because I've used it all. So, Robin,
Yes.
bear
sir.
markets are rough, right? You take some punches.
I feel like there's going to be a GIF or
You take
meme
some punches. You take some to the
or
gut.
some kind of tweet video.
Some are so hard, Robin. You take them straight to the chin, to the knees, to the hands. And it looks like our friend Vitalik Buterin has not only taking punches, but it looks like he's been giving punches as well. This is him from East Denver. Scrapes on the knees, one is bandaged, he's got his arm, he's got his hand wrapped, he's got a...
Bro, who was he fighting?
Man. I think he got...
I feel like he was like wrestling it, like the sweater that's too tight when you're trying to pull it off and it gets stuck around your neck.
Like fell down.
Help, I've fallen and I can't get up. So guys, if Vitalik can get through this, so can you, okay? Also, this is a pretty cool ad from Coinbase. This is tweeted by one of our friends, Wolf of Wall Street, Scott Melker. He'll be joining us later this month. So this video, it's a Coinbase ad, so it's pretty cool. Let's take a look. And if you guys have seen it, put a 1 in the chat.
What is this archaic system?
Mother's maiden name? Leibowitz?
You're telling me this guy is how things get verified.
That's my job.
I'm just saying, you shouldn't have to buy $10 worth of gum if you just want 79 cents worth of gum. Why do you get charged your money to take your money from your account? And if you're out of money, they charge you for being out of money?
What?
An overseas transfer takes 5 days?
Business days.
Why?
What are they using? A Zeppelin?
I deposited the check Monday.
But Monday was a bank holiday.
Why is this the way it is?
A bank holiday?
This system
What's a bank holiday?
makes no sense.
This makes no sense.
Who designed this system? Is this really the best we can do?
Hello?
crypto, we deserve better.
It's time to update the system. I know, Robin, one of your biggest...
that was literally my whole freaking blow up yesterday.
You've always, you know, spoken your mind about... You're very you're very... what's the word I'm looking for? Passionate about overdraft fees.
Handsome? Oh.
No. You're very passionate about overdraft fees. And, you know, it's one of the things they mentioned in the ad. Hey, you're out of money, but we need money that you're out of. Give us $25. Like, sir, I don't even have $5 to put in my account.
Hey, you know what? Your account hit 0. Now we're going to put you negative. How now? Like, how does that make any sense? How does that make any sense? You are out of money. Now we're going to literally make you go negative. Like, think about that, man.
And then, but it's not a one-time thing. They can keep adding overdraft fees on there.
Dude, it's and we've been brainwashed to believe that is
The norm.
Right?
Well, because we've had no other option, though, right?
In the same way
That's
where
the
they
problem.
brainwash you and say, look, we have to have 2 to 5% inflation. The system won't work without it. Everything will collapse without it. Like, we need inflation. We have to feed the baby.
Robin, I'm happy you brought up inflation because we have someone here from the Congress that was speaking to Mr. Powell.
From the Congress?
From our Congress.
We have someone from the Congress. Like,
Who was speaking to the Honorable
that a TV
Jerome Harold Powell. Not sure if Harold's his middle name, but it does start with an H. Jerome Higher for Longer Powell. That was pretty funny. All right. So this is Congresswoman, I believe her last name is Presley. So grilling Jerome about interest rates and what they plan on doing. So let's take a listen.
While the Fed has acknowledged that higher interest rates are not the primary driver for the slowdown in price increases, you continue to raise interest rates, risking not only millions of jobs, but also a recession. Based on projections from the Fed, approximately 2 million people will lose their jobs. So that's 2 million families who will struggle to put food on the table, keep a roof over their heads, and to make ends meet. But the economic hardship does not end there. The Fed's own economists predict that reaching the 2% inflation goal that you have set will be impossible without causing a recession and spiking the unemployment rate to 7.4%, which translates to millions of working people losing their jobs. Here's the thing. The most devastating impacts will be to our most vulnerable. Veterans to our most vulnerable. Veterans, the elderly, low-income workers, Black and brown workers, those who have often ignored and been neglected in the name of what you refer to as appropriate monetary policy. And yet, you assert that you will stay the course. It's unconscionable, and our most vulnerable workers and families cannot afford to wait for you to realize the harm that you are doing. While the Fed is...
What are your thoughts on that? Is Jerome Powell doing the right thing? I mean, like, I feel like, and of course, none of us are bankers or economists, but I feel like he's got a plate of crap, 2 plates of crap. One smells worse than the other, so pick your choice.
He facilitated some of the reason we're in that. I was watching someone else's show. They were talking about, Jerome Powell didn't put us in this mess. Well, you know what? He's the one that decided to print, right? He's the one that issued out cash. Now the government is the one that the government's the one
I'm gonna push back on that. It was not Jerome
has
Powell.
spending proposals.
It was not Jerome Powell. It was passed by Congress, and they decided to do that. It had nothing to do with Jerome Powell. But what Jerome Powell did do wrong is he should have foreseen and looked at, okay, they're printing money, they're giving people excess money. There's nowhere people can spend the money on.
For quantitative easing, it's not passed by Congress to buy up corporate debt. That is facilitated by the Fed. I'm talking about
giving people stimulus checks.
Printing in the not talking about what the Treasury does or they make physical notes. I'm talking about the injection of capital into corporate America, which is where majority of the money came from when the M2 money supply increased by 40%. That wasn't printed by the Treasury Department. It was printed by the Fed, and it was mostly done in the form of quantitative easing and the issuance of payments. Not to say that it wasn't through the directive of Congress. But I'm just saying that this man, he's an integral part of getting us where we're at. And you know what? He also had his hands off the steering wheel when we were at 0%, when all indicators were saying that inflation is coming, and he kept pumping this transitory narrative. So I don't give a damn if he's on the hot seat and he's all like, well, you know what? Jerome Powell didn't put. Yes, you did, man. And it's your job. You've been in office when this started. You were here. You were at the driver's seat when this all became a problem. And you did nothing at the time. And now you're trying to apply the brakes hella hard. And then you got people over here saying, well, it's not Jerome Powell's fault. Yeah, well, it's not all his fault. Sure. It's not him. He's not Dr. Evil here. I get that. But at the same time, dude, good. Turn the heat up on this dude, man. You know what? This is his job, and he put himself in a corner. And you know what? He's to blame, and so is a host of other people, and the system, and the situation.
He definitely deserves blame, but I'm not going to put the blame on him where you're putting the blame on him. My blame lies in you are the Fed chair.
He shares part of the blame.
He
could have started raising interest rates.
That is my biggest issue. That is my biggest issue.
He could have said, "Hey, maybe after they lifted the stay-at-home mandates, maybe they should have stopped injecting capital in the form of quantitative easing and buying corporate debt for companies that were already back open." I'm just saying that. I'm sorry. He shares some of the blame, man.
He does.
Then that's it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he is 100% at fault, but I'm just saying that, like, you should be answering the questions in front of a committee, and they should be grilling your ass because you fucked up. That's all I'm saying, bro. And you can say, well, it was crazy times. It was pandemic. He had pressure. Sure. But I'm just saying.
Here's the issue, okay? And I've watched so many videos, and they've all said the same thing. The reason we said inflation was transitory was because when the government pumped money, stimulus checks, into people's accounts, at the time, people weren't able to spend that money on services. They were only able to spend them on goods.
And they went straight to corporate America. And then on top of that, they started buying corporate debt.
And so their thing was, well, when the economy opens back up, it's going to shift from goods to services. Well, it didn't. But when it didn't, right, this is in late 2020, early 2021, why were you not slowly raising interest rates? Because you saw at that time, money did not flow back into services. Money flowed into risk on assets, into cryptocurrencies, into the stock market. And so at that point, and Jerome Powell is way smarter than I am on this economic stuff, smarter than anyone watching here. And so to me, it's unfathomable that someone of his stature, of his expertise, of knowledge, couldn't see that coming and say, hey, we should probably start going 25, 25, 25. Let's get to 1.5. Let's get to 2%. Obviously, money's not flowing into services. Housing is going up. The housing market absolutely exploded in 2020 and 2021. And so I just don't understand how you can't look ahead and try to extrapolate some of the issues that are going to rise from what you've done, what Congress has done, and what you didn't do. So I think that's the issue here. It was extremely dumb for Congress to give people that money during a shutdown, because you had,
I think
the moratorium on rent, so people weren't paying rent.
The money wasn't the problem. The money was only a fraction of the printing. The problem came from the lowering of the interest rates and leaving it there for almost 2 years, or for over a year. And on top of that, you just had money printing where they're just handing out cash. They were just wheelbarrowing cash to Fortune 500 companies. They were just like, hey, man, you guys are in debt? Yeah, we'll buy that debt. Like, and then it's just like, and then you take then this guy takes a stand, and I'm listening to different analysts, and they're just like, hey, man, like, you didn't put us in this mess. I get it, man. Dude might not be 100% at fault, but you know what? You're the one, you're the voice of reason, and you can have these damn meetings and these Fed meetings, and people listen to you, and you can sit here and say, hey, we're in a bad spot. We're going to need to change course. Otherwise, history has said that we're going to get an inflationary period. Instead, he said, no, we're good. We're going to go transitory. And he tried to ease people like, hey, we're doing our job. Don't worry. Don't worry. And then lo and behold, he was wrong. He was wrong about being transitory. And so was a host of other people, the Treasury Department, Janet Yellen. It was a lot of people. And so now that they were wrong about that call, we're seeing the effects of it now. And now that we got interest rates, now he wants to cut interest rate. He wants to jack up interest rates to cut inflation. And people in Congress are like, whoa, well, if you achieve your goal and I think what it is that right now we're at 4.7%, or between 4.5 and 4.75% Fed adjusted interest rate. And what he's lining up, what he's saying is that, hey, we're going to have to ratchet this up. We're predicting now, the CME is predicting 0.5%, and this 5% is off the table. So where we're getting at is that 6% is on the table, 7% is a possibility, and who knows how far up we go from there. And what this is equating to is going to be a massive job loss across the country. And Congress, as should be, people are concerned. They're like, hey, man, if you're going to get down to 2%, we're going to probably be over 5% unemployment. Even though we got a super strong labor market, just the history says you ratchet up the interest rates at a rate that you are.
But Robin, are we? Are we when there's 1.9 jobs for every worker?
If you crash the market, eventually you will get unemployment. Now, remember, we had 10% unemployment during the pandemic. So I understand businesses closed, but it is possible, if not likely, that if we stay the course and we get up to 7% 7% interest rate, that unemployment will substantially climb to a point that will be, in terms of deep recession, very problematic years to come out of. And I think that's what, now you can sit here and say, oh, Congress is made up of a lot of people, but there's a lot of people that perhaps wasn't in line to print and get us to the situation we were. Even if they were, it doesn't matter. People are identifying, hey man, you know what? If the Fed stays the course, we get to 7-8% interest rate. And I know that sounds crazy, but I mean, at this point, I wouldn't write that off. If we get to 7-8% interest rate, I would be very surprised if we could keep unemployment under 5% with those rates, because there's going to be nobody's going to be buying houses.
If we get to 8% interest rate, I'd be very surprised if the government is still up
that's
and running.
the thing. We're going to be at 5.5, and we got another 6 meetings coming up.
We're
and
reaching.
And what happens if inflation doesn't come down to the 2%? What is it? Do you believe Jerome Powell that he ain't gonna stop until we get down to 2.3, right? Or do you think he's lying?
Here's what I think.
I'm just curious. Do you think?
No, I don't think they're going to be able to get to 2%.
So do you think he's going to pause raising interest rates?
They'll pause,
and he'll basically admit he was wrong. Because the thing is I think this dude is going to keep raising interest rates until that interest rate, until that number is hit.
You know what happens in a year and a half, right?
What's that?
Possibly a new president comes in, which means you know what happens then, probably, right? Is they're going to want their own Fed chair in there.
Here's the thing. In a year and a half, they can raise interest rate by a lot.
But doesn't mean they can.
And actually, it'll be 2 years by the time they get into office.
Okay, Robin, just break it down to its bare bones, okay?
What you keep saying is that they can't.
They can't.
Why can't they physically cannot?
Let me explain
If he decides to raise the interest rate at each meeting by 0.5%,
let me explain it to you.
Okay,
you asked a question, let me explain it, okay? The U.S. Treasury puts out bonds, notes, and bills, okay? Who do you think pays that 5-6%? The Treasury Department, the U.S. government does. We are approaching $1 trillion a month in interest payments. Okay? As they raise the federal funds rate, so does the rate.
I'm not
But
saying
hold
it's
on,
gonna
let me
be
finish.
easy.
Let me
I'm just saying
finish.
that if he wants to, he
It's not
can.
possible. We
I'm
are
gonna
currently
mute
in
your
a
mic.
situation. We are currently in a situation where they're talking if we don't raise the debt ceiling, we're going to run out of money by June. And that's at 5%. What is it going to look like at 7%, at 8%, at 9%? At some point, it's not possible. You're going to have to turn the money printers back on, and then the inflation is going to keep going up. It's a cycle that's never going to end.
Over the last 100 years, we've continuously raised the debt ceiling up. Over the last 100 years, we've gotten it to raising over 5% interest rate.
Okay, but when you
And-
raise the debt
and-
ceiling, what do? You print money.
We've never had this amount of debt before.
But you can say that okay, if you remove this and you were to say right before we hit the debt ceiling in 2008, you can say we've never had this
But
amount of
it's
debt before.
different. Like,
and then
since
in
2008,
2000
look
you
at-
can say we didn't hit this amount of debt ceiling before. And what you do is you just keep adding onto the debt ceiling, and what you're doing is you're printing and
Correct.
you're debasing the value of the money. And so
So how does that help inflation?
That's how they're going to have to get rid of it. They're going to have to inflate it away.
Yeah.
They have to inflate the
Well,
debt
then
away.
you might get into hyperinflation.
So what I'm
Well, yeah, we
saying,
could.
what I'm saying is that if you think that the Fed will not, like, there's no possible way they would raise interest, all I'm saying is that they have the means to do it. Now, you might not like the results. The Treasury Department and the bond market might get pooped on, sure. But I'm just saying that, like, you sit here and you believe that the CBDC and the US can control all this, and you go down this long rabbit hole on this possibility. And I agree. I think it's unlikely, but it's possible. And you know what else? I think it's unlikely, but it's possible that the Fed could raise it 10%. And I'm just saying, and you shake your head, but you could literally absorb that by printing money. And so you don't think that we could get to a
but
situation
that goes
where,
against what they're trying to do.
okay, what happens if we have a global event? Let's just say hypothetically, there's a global event, supply shock, massive. Say China and invades Taiwan. Okay, all of a sudden, massive disruption. You have a price shock on supply and demand. It jacks up inflation, and now we're seeing CPI over 10%. You don't think the Fed is going to try to adjust interest rates even higher, even though there's a black swan event? They're just going to.
That's why they're not going to try to pump it higher.
They're going to be even more bullish on this raising interest rate because they're trying to tackle inflation. That's the
disagree.
only thing they have. And if you have outside situations that are affecting the interest rate, then all I'm saying is that it's possible. I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's going to happen. But if you sit here and say that, like, there's no possible way on God's earth that the Fed can't increase interest rates, bro, we went from 0 to 5% in 1 year. Don't dismiss that we can't get to 8%.
We're not getting to 8%. If we get to 8%, we're going to have to print so much money that it's not going to
That's
matter.
no different than what we've done before.
We're getting to the point where interest rates, so like the interest rates on our debt is going to become more than our national gross product, like domestic product.
GDP.
Yeah, we're going to get to the point. We're not like, it's going to get there quickly too if we continue.
We're spending more money than we're bringing in.
But
like
that
by a
is,
lot.
but the history of our country has been exactly that. So if you think that all of a sudden we're going to say, you know what, we're reaching the debt ceiling a little faster
we've
than we
never
normally
been
would,
this-
let's not print more money. Like, you're wrong. If there's a global event and if you get interest rates you have inflation rates skyrocketing, I'm sorry, the Fed is going to keep doing what they're doing. Jerome Powell is on a mission. He doesn't care if he breaks the system. He has brought up the fact that recession is on the table. And if you don't think he's going to push the economy into recession to achieve his own agenda because he was
There's
wrong
a difference,
before,
Robin, between pushing the economy to a recession and pushing the U.S. government on the brink of collapse. There's a big difference.
well, what do you think a recession is? A recession is literally the U.S. economy being on the brink of a collapse. Look at the time. 2008 recession on the brink of collapse. 2000 recession on the brink of collapse. That's literally what a recession is. It's the definition of recession. It's a
Defaulting on
massive
debt, defaulting on debt, not being able to service your debt is different from a recession.
Well, you just print. You print. You
Okay, then
debase.
inflation goes up. It's
Yes,
a never-ending cycle.
exactly.
Okay, so we're either gonna have
You're
high
gonna see
inflation
both.
and interest
Yeah.
rates at 10%. What the fuck's the difference?
That's what we've seen, David. That's what we've seen in the last 2 years. So you don't think we can do that more? You don't think we can do exactly what we did in the last 2 years, where we raise interest
you're
rates? and we
already
saw-
seeing
and
you're
we-
already seeing countries start to at least some countries are starting to accept things other than the US dollar. We're starting to see more countries play with the idea of accepting things more than US dollar.
But 95% of the money
you go
moves
and
in,
debase your currency like someone like Lebanon did or Argentina did or Venezuela did.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but
Then what?
the infrastructure is not going to switch. We're not all of a sudden going to start trading in the yen. The yen, give me a currency that is inflating less than the dollar.
I don't have that. I don't have that info with me right now.
Well, I'm just letting you know they're the strong. That's why the number. What's the SPX, the basket of goods against the dollar? What is it?
S&P 500.
No, the one that measures all the other currencies against the dollar. Yeah, what is it?
DXY.
The DXY, the dollar cost index. The reason that one is the lead is because it's the one that has the least amount of inflation, and it pegs all the other currencies, and then you see how far that deviates. Hi, hey man, I'm sorry, man. You got a lot of faith in the Fed, bro. I don't.
It's not about having faith in the Fed, Robin. It's going to get to an inflection point where it's like, if you raise any more, we literally will default unless we turn the money
You said that
back on.
before when we were at 0. You said if we get over 5%, the system's going to break. Well,
I didn't say over 5%. Find a clip where I said over 5%.
I will.
Go ahead.
No, I'll bring it up on Monday.
Okay, let's move on. So this is from Benjamin Cowan. Total market cap of crypto. So you've seen this chart, right? The cheat sheet, Wall Street cheat sheet.
Mm-mm. Oh yeah, I've seen this.
Psychology of the market.
I've seen it.
And so Benjamin Cowan plotted the total crypto market cap over this, and look how almost perfectly this thing lines up, right? So if this is correct, we would be currently in the anger phase, which would also mean that we haven't seen a bottom yet. Do you agree with this? And if you don't, where do you think we are in this psychology of a market cycle chart?
And that's the Bitcoin chart?
This is total crypto market cap.
Oh, the market cap. I don't know. I think it's possible. Here's the thing: we're not gonna come out of. Yeah, I see that. We're not gonna come out of the bear market and rally into a bull market until the halving is coming. And if you're gonna use that chart as an example, the halving would be the peak, right, on the right. And so, will we go a little further down? Sure, maybe. Will we go a little further up and then pull back down? Either way, we're going to trade sideways probably for a majority of this year, right? I don't think we're going to be hitting 40,000, put it this way, until after the halving or right before the halving. And so for that reason, sure, we could be a little bit to the upside, a little bit to the downside. Could we test lows again? Who the hell knows what happens on a global scale? Sure. Maybe stock markets crash because of monetary policies. But I don't think that it would be much lower than we were in the past anyways. And that chart says it right there. If that latest dip was 16,000, that looks like from the chart you're showing that maybe 15,000 would be where we would test, maybe 14.5 or something. So for me, not that concerning.
So, this whole thing with Silvergate, all right, everyone's been putting in their 2 cents, including some senators and congresspeople. One of them being Elizabeth Warren. So she tweeted, as a bank of choice for crypto, Silvergate Bank's failure is disappointing but predictable. I warned of Silvergate's risky, if not illegal activity, and identified severe due diligence failures. Now customers must be made whole and regulators should step up against crypto risk. Then we have this tweet from Ryan Selkis, the founder of Messari. I just withdrew remaining money under the FDIC threshold from Silvergate. The fact that we and others were able to withdraw funds safely days after their announced intention to liquidate is a case study in responsible risk management. They were a political target. Disgusting. You agree with this the statement here? Or do you think the only reason they were able to do this is because they had access to the mortgage money?
So who's this guy?
So Ryan Selkis is the founder of Messari.
Okay. And so this is personal account or is that the Messari account?
This is, I'm assuming this is their company account.
Their company account?
Yeah. So
I
Warren
mean, here's the thing. If his, I mean, I don't know, man. So did he have less than $250,000?
Well, I don't know what the threshold is for businesses. I believe it's the same.
Is it?
I know FDIC is usually $250,000.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We know that Silvergate was able to access close to what was it,
$250,000 per depositor per institution as well. So
$250,000.
I mean, here's the thing: if the FDIC threshold is $250,000, they had $200,000 on there, then I guess that makes sense.
So,
but here's the thing: I haven't heard. Okay, I haven't heard that Silvergate has frozen anyone's assets and they are credited.
They haven't.
Who?
No, I'm saying they haven't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, they were operating like a bank.
They are a bank.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And because they're a bank, they're operating like a bank, and they've had customer assets, but now, like other banks, they also rehypothecate and do whatever else, and they've lost over $1 billion with FTX. So, and they borrowed from the FHA, was it FHL? And so they borrowed from that government program to fill the gap, but they've had the cash to facilitate the withdrawals for all these big companies.
Haven't shut anything down.
Yeah. Well, they shut down. You know that, right?
No, I know they're winding down, but
no, they actually shut down. Like they're done.
Yeah, their Silvergate Exchange Network is done.
No, like Silvergate is done. They've ceased operations.
Everything I read has said they're winding down.
No, Silvergate closed, baby. So this was San Diego Bank. This was this morning, or this was yesterday afternoon. I pull up my laptop. San Diego. Oh shoot, never mind. Sorry.
Womp, womp, womp.
So Silvergate. Yeah, they're done, man. They closed.
Okay.
And which is kind of interesting because we've seen this, and at the time that they announced they were closing is when we went from 22.5 to 21.5, and so that is supposedly the catalyst. Now,
Bitcoin under 21.
Is it? So here you can pull it up now. I should pop up now. Yeah. So here's San Diego Silver Bank to close because of crypto losses. So they announced this yesterday.
Too close.
So they announced after markets closed that it voluntarily decided to cease operations. Best path forward given the deteriorating situation. And so they are done. And so that's last night. If their stock after Wall Street closed for the futures was down over 50% at one point. And so when they opened up the stock market today, it literally they just liquidated all their stock. So there's nothing left there. They're officially done. Like
people are saying, why is Bitcoin tanking, right? What do you think? Why do you think Bitcoin's tanking? You think it's the Silvergate news? A lot of people are saying
I think a lot of people
saying that was priced in, but
But here's the thing: most people don't know what Silvergate was and don't really understand
the
intricacies of it and how pivotal of a role it plays in the markets. And you just literally pulled away the liquidity supplier for. It's the same as me and you. Let's just say we have two. Say we can only buy crypto on two platforms. Say we got Coinbase and Binance.us. We live here in the States. Let's just say that there's nowhere else for us to buy crypto, hypothetically speaking. Coinbase, Binance.us. Now just imagine if one of them closed. That is the situation that the corporate or institutional level clients are in the crypto space right now. If you want to transact from fiat to crypto and you need to facilitate that service, especially for the likes of an exchange, you had two options. You had Silvergate and you had Signature Bank. One is closed. And Silvergate was the bigger of the two. Signature was smaller. That's the scary thing. And they had an exchange for institutional clients, which has been closed.
Here's a reason.
And now we're seeing historic lack of volume, and that's because that whole trading well is gone. It's like closing the wall, you know, it's like closing the CME, right? It's like closing the New York Stock Exchange and then only trading on the other exchange.
Well, I might have an inkling as to why. U.S. government's $1 billion transfer spooks investors. This was today, updated at 5:20 or at 7:30 in the morning our time, Vegas time. Authorities have transferred $1 billion worth of Bitcoin recovered from a dark web hack to new wallet addresses, including one owned by Coinbase. Nearly 10,000 Bitcoin were sent to Coinbase-controlled wallets. An open market sale would be a departure from their past handlings of seized assets. Government usually sells assets in auction. 2014 and 2015, they auctioned off Bitcoin seized from Silk Road. Now, let me ask you this question. We can say that this administration is not very crypto-friendly, yes? Are they purposely dumping this on the open market to spook the markets, to push forward their narrative? What do you guys think?
The thing is they're not selling this OTC.
That's what I'm saying. Are they selling it directly into the market? I mean, I don't have the proof to say they are or they're not.
Well, here's the thing. Like, regardless if they intend to dump the market or not, they're dumping the market. If you're selling $1 billion worth of Bitcoin on Coinbase, on the order books, you know what's happening. Like, you could be the most novice investor out there. You could have very little understanding of crypto, but you still know what's happening. Hey, we're about to sell $1 billion on an exchange that has an order book that there's buy and sell orders on either side. Like, there's no like, nobody doesn't understand how that works.
No one's complaining. Well, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I mean, what they're doing is, you know, there's nothing. I could buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin and I can sell it wherever the hell I want. You know, it's not illegal. It's not. It might not be the smartest move. And obviously, you're going to get a lower return on investment because as you clear the order books, you're going to get less and less of a price. So obviously, the way you'd like to do that is sell it OTC, negotiated price, and then just offboard all $1 billion of it. That's the smart way of doing it. Now, I think they sold, the on-chain analytics said they sold like 200 million, or they had moved they have $1 billion, but they had put like 200 million on Coinbase, and that's what was looking
10,000 Bitcoin was sent to Coinbase.
10,000 was sent to Coinbase,
which is $210 million.
$210 million. So they're sitting on $1 billion. They sent over 200 million. And so how much of that
only 20% of that went to Coinbase. Where'd the other two transactions go?
That's the thing. I don't think they've sent it anywhere. I think they just put it on a wall like getting ready, and they sent 20% to Coinbase. Well, in the same way that you do a test transfer. I'm not to say this is as a test transfer. I'm just saying that now maybe it went elsewhere, but I would think that because of on-chain analytics, if 20% went to Coinbase, 20% went to Binance, 20% went somewhere else, pretty sure that would be the headline. They'd be like, hey, we're tracking these wallets. But from my understanding, they've only sent, they have all of the funds sitting in one wallet, or actually they have like 5 wallets. And then one of the wallets has sent over to Coinbase.
So you're saying, we're going to test send $500 million of Bitcoin?
No, not a test send, but I think here's the thing. They've been sitting on it for years. A lot of this Bitcoin was accumulated over 10 years ago, and they've been sitting on it for a long ass time. There's been more Bitcoin that has come in more recently, but it's not like they're itching to sell it, like they have to dump it all tomorrow. But I think at this point they're like, hey, we need some money. Okay, hey, we got a lot of Bitcoin sitting around, right? Let's sell some of it. And they've auctioned it off in the past, and maybe there's nobody interested in buying it right now. Maybe the auction market is dried up.
I don't buy that.
Maybe, I don't know. Either way, they decided to go sell it on Coinbase, and the thing is like, Is that the right way of doing it? No. Maybe they understand, like, hey, we physically can't sell $1 billion on Coinbase.
Or maybe they're like, let's crash
Or
this market
maybe
'cause
maybe
we
they
hate it.
contacted. Here's an interesting. Maybe they contacted Coinbase, like, hey, we'd like to sell this OTC, and they're like, we don't like you. Like, you're trying to shut us down. You don't like any of our services. You're currently trying to sue us. You gave us a Wells notice, even though that's just
The SEC isn't the one selling it.
But yeah, I
The White
get
House.
that. But maybe they're just like, yo, we don't want to. Maybe their fear is that the SEC will look at that transaction in a negative light as well. Obviously, the SEC doesn't have any problem going against other departments out there, the CFTC, Treasury Department. They push back on everybody else. They're like, hey, we got this thing, and maybe there's a reason that they're not selling it OTC.
There might be some hope for this thing, because I'm gonna go back to this CoinDesk article. So this gentleman by the name of Mark Connors, he's the head of research at 3iQ, which is a asset management company, said the current composition of the Bitcoin market may help Bitcoin stand up to sell pressures better than it did in the wake of last spring's Terra crash. That's because the market has less leverage than it did last year. What are your thoughts on that? It's interesting, right?
Well, here's the thing. There's less liquidity, and so it takes less to move the market one direction or
You
not.
also have less cascading.
Yeah. So
Right.
less liquidity also translates to less leverage, right? Because it's all one big pool of liquidity. And so
You're starting to sound like Sam Bankman-Fried here.
but your order books are on both sides. It's not just investors trying to buy and sell Bitcoin. You also have leverage positions on both sides. And if you don't have the buyers there on the back end to buy Bitcoin in both a leverage position and in an investor hodl position, then if you get some massive sell pressure, it's just going to keep cascading. And compared to where we were in the Terra Luna era, the volume was four times where it is now, or threefold. And so no shock there.
So I'm looking at CoinGlass. Over the last 1 hour, $75 million in crypto has been liquidated, with 41 million being Bitcoin. So more than half has been Bitcoin. Thoughts and prayers. Jimmy's too funny. What do you guys think? I want to know what the chat thinks.
Yeah, let's give a little love to the chat here.
Hold on. Let me post this poll.
Go ahead.
Put a 1 in the chat if you think the U.S. government is dumping Bitcoin. Put a 2 in the chat if you think it's Silvergate. 1, U.S. government. 2, Silvergate news. What do you think?
They're for sure dumping Bitcoin. They moved it to an exchange. They're not putting it on Coinbase to get yield. Like, there's only one reason the U.S. government moved Bitcoin to Coinbase. So
But what
they
if
are
now that
they are
Coinbase is a
selling
qualified? But Coinbase is now a qualified custodian, right?
it. They are selling it 100%. They're not swapping it to ETH. They are selling the Bitcoin
Staking.
100%, bro. So
That's funny.
all right. So here we got wrapped up in our conversation, so we haven't had really time to say what's up to the chat. So let me have a little moment here. Me and you.
Have your moment.
Me and you. Yes, you behind the camera. You on the other end of that iPhone. What's up? Have you hit the like button?
What if it's a Samsung?
That guy. Yeah. Have you hit it? I'm asking you.
Should they hit it?
Don't
and quit
lie to
it?
yourself.
Should they hit it and quit it?
Don't lie to yourself.
Should they
Have
hit
you
it?
hit that like button?
Should they hit it and quit it, or?
All right. We also got some new people here. If you're new, say hello so that way we can drop an hola back at you. We have Chunktown, FOMOphobic. We got MacDonos, Mirth, Red Rum, Crypto Red Bot. We got JP Trees, Google user, Crypto Belikio, Brad G, The Right. And then we also have Eddie, Mike Play. We got Devin C, Sunshine. Also, we got
Sundown.
Gary Burke, Ada BB, Mike Mene, Vino Bahaldi Patel. Also, we got, I think that about wraps it up there. And Crypto Told you so.
Crypto told you so.
Hola! Welcome to Sin City Crypto. Also, guess what? While we were
Is Dixie Flatline in here?
yeah, he was in here earlier. So we got a new whale member. Dixie Flatline has joined the club. Here it is. So welcome.
There she blows.
Welcome. You are the 10th whale member, my friend.
That's right.
Welcome to the whale community. You have now access to our whale Discord channel.
And
You will also get your 10% off of all merchandise. And you got your name added to the credits.
And we're gonna have some members only video too.
Yeah.
And start pumping those out
Pump.
again. So
You know what's not pumping is Bitcoin. Bitcoin's pumping down. Part of we also had some other news with the economy. Biden challenges Republicans a budget that raises taxes on rich and sets up a 2024 run. Speaking at a Philadelphia Union Hall, the Democratic president will highlight plans to cut, not eliminate, the nation's deficit by nearly $3 trillion over 10 years by raising taxes on those earning more than $400,000 a year and ending some corporate tax breaks enacted in 2017 under Donald Trump. Biden proposes funding higher outlays and closing the deficit by imposing a 25% minimum tax on billionaires and doubling the capital gains from 20% to 40%. Biden has also said the budget will propose quadrupling a 1% stock buyback tax while going after corporations and the rich. Now, I don't have an issue with this 1%, like quadrupling the 1%. If you're going to take money, right? Let's just say, government buys corporate debt or you sell corporate debt and it's on the government balance sheet. You take that money and all you do is buy back your own stock. You should pay a tax on that, right? 1%. And I'm not a tax expert here. But what's going to happen when you start 25% taxing billionaires? It's just going to leave. They're going to leave. So I don't know what the right answer is. And again, I'm not a tax expert. I'm not a politician. But from everything I've seen, we look at somewhere like Thailand, and I'll just go ahead and share this now. Thailand is waiving crypto taxes. And so why are they waiving? Right. Taxes is one of the most important things, right? When people talk about there's two things you can't go around. Yeah, avoid death and taxes, right? But if someone's giving you a place to avoid taxes, like Thailand is with crypto, people are going to go there.
Can you avoid death in Thailand?
Depends on not going there. Actually, never mind. So I don't have too much comment on who should get taxed, how much should they get taxed, but the unrealized capital gains tax and raising it from 20 to 40%, I think is absolutely absurd. We're in an era now with high inflation. People are already losing their asses in the markets. And even if they now make a little bit of money, you want 40% of it. What do you think, Rob?
I think we opened up with that. 40% tax on my gains is insane. It's insane, man. It's not okay to take half of what I earn, man. It should be taxed in the same way that my income is taxed. And here's the thing. If I have a job and I make $100,000 a year annually, then I should be taxed on a $100,000 tax bracket. If I don't have a job and I trade for a living and I make $100,000, I should not be paying 40% taxes on it. I should be paying in the tax bracket like a $100,000 job. Or if I have a $100,000 job and I make $100,000 trading, I should be taxed like I have a $200,000 job. It's not that complicated. I don't understand how we even got to this mess. You have government officials that have overspent and need to draw on money, and they're like, "Well, you guys got a lot of money.
You know what I think
y'all crypto millionaires. Y'all sitting good. Can we get a little piece of that? Sure, you already get a piece of it. You already get 25%. Why was that not enough? And you tax my income.
You know why, bro? we are about to see the Social Security take a beating. They are so underfunded with the amount of people that are retiring.
Okay.
They are not prepared.
Question. Here's the thing. If they raise capital gains tax, you actually think that tax is going to go to Social Security? No.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying we are coming to an inflection point here. And one of those is going to be Social Security. Because you guys got to remember, as inflation goes up, they have to adjust benefits to people who are retired, so through Social Security. So inflation is up 6%. Technically, they have to raise their benefits 6%. But obviously, we don't even have enough money with the amount of people retiring over the next 15, 20 years. That's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun.
It's all exponential, man. And so every time you raise this debt ceiling, it just way higher than it was before. And
great analysis.
You look
every time they raise the debt ceiling, it's way higher.
No,
than it was
I mean
before.
like it's incrementally larger than it is before. And so you can see here in 2010, it went from 12 trillion to or 11 trillion to 13. Look at this, man. From 10 to 15 trillion, up 50%. So this went up 50% over the course of a few years.
Well, that's kind of the idea behind not being able to raise interest rates, right? Because look at that amount.
Well, the thing is all they're going to do
actually worse.
All they're going to do is take it from 15% to 30. From 15 trillion to 30 trillion. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. In the 80s, we were at 1 trillion in our it wasn't that long ago, 1980s.
Wait, that's just up until 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we've doubled that since then.
Yeah.
We're
over 30.
That's what I'm saying is that
over 30.
You can,
right?
what I'm saying is that you can look historically and that this thing they keep,
because they have
the
to.
percentage of, because like every time they raise the interest rate here, each one of these little steps is raising, or not interest. Each one of these steps is them raising the debt ceiling, and you can see that now these steps are larger, and so where I'm getting at, and this gets absorbed in our purchasing power and in printing. And so these steps, it looks just like a Bitcoin chart or something. It's going to be.
You know what else is?
What's that?
Gary Gensler.
Yeah.
Gary Gensler has spoken.
Oh, yeah?
He's spoken. He's done an op-ed. You guys want to hear what he has to say?
No?
I do.
Okay.
This is from The Hill. Gary tweeted this, by the way. If you're not following Gary Gensler, do yourself a favor. Go follow him so you can pester him. What is that word called? Pesker?
Pester?
Pescatarian?
You can pesca him. Anyways, so getting crypto firms to do their work within the bounds of the law. Thank you, Mr. Gensler. Let's see what you have to say, my friend. When I taught a course, and this everything I'm reading is what Gary Gensler said. Okay, this is what he wrote. He did. Co-op. When I taught a course on blockchain and money at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which Caroline Ellison's father was my boss, which I helped them and meet with them, I asked my students every semester who they thought Satoshi Nakamoto was. To this day, no one knows. I think that's the point. Literally, that is the point.
Maybe it's Gary.
No, definitely not Gary. He's just stupid. Crypto entrepreneurs might claim in their own marketing that they're transparent and regulated, but make no mistake, very few, if any, are actually registered with the SEC and fully compliant with federal securities laws.
Because they're not stocks. How are you going to register?
The lack of compliance puts investors' hard-earned assets at risk. Investors lack fundamental disclosures about the crypto assets themselves and the firms who execute their trades and custody their assets. What are the firms doing with these customer assets? How are they funding their promised returns? Are they putting their hands in investors' pockets? I agree. I want to know the answer to those questions too, Gary. When you buy or sell a token, are you trading against a house? What are the rules to protect against manipulation and fraud? I would like to know that as well. I would also like to know that, Gary. Without disclosure and other investor protections, we simply don't know. Fair. It's fair, Gary. I'll give you that. I find the talking point that there's a lack of clarity. Listen to this. This is hilarious. This is hilarious. I find the talking point that there's lack of clarity unpersuasive. And then he also says, we've been cleared that most crypto tokens that are backed by entrepreneurs are likely to be securities. So up here, he says the lack of clarity talking point is unpersuasive. Then he says most crypto tokens. Well, which ones? Which ones? At least give us a few of them so we can be like, okay, this one looks like this one looks like this one. No, you just throw out a blanket statement. Most cryptos are securities. And you say, yeah, the whole clarity thing, I don't buy into that. What?
You know what'll make you feel better?
Also, hold on.
What
No,
does
go
the
back,
history?
Kyler. Go back.
What does the history of measurements
Hold on,
have to
before you
do
play that, let me
with
finish
the
this
stock
article, Rob.
markets?
Yeah.
Before you play
Oh,
that.
that just gotta warm your heart, huh?
Just before you play that, just pause it real
Okay,
quick. Just
okay, good.
please. He said, frankly, though, crypto intermediaries aren't exactly lining up to register with the SEC and comply with the laws enacted by Congress, referring to the 1933 securities law. Maybe it's simply that their business model relies on being non-compliant. What do you guys think, man? Robin?
Nothing surprises me with this guy anymore. But here's the thing: he's just saying the same thing he's been saying. It's not like he's dropping some new truth
But he's
bomb.
literally contradicting himself in his own article. I find that clarity is the argument of it's not clear is unpersuasive. Then in the next line, he says most cryptos are securities. If that's unclear, if that's not unclear, I don't know what is.
Here's the thing:
If that's clarity, then I'm a freaking.
he's just using the bait and switch, bro. He's trying to say, look, nobody understands what's going on in this space, not even us. But we need to keep you safe because you don't know what's going on. So we got this. Like, if you don't know what's going on, how the hell are you supposed to regulate it? Right? Yeah, anyways.
All right. You want to show your stupid video?
It doesn't really pertain to crypto. I thought it'd be a nice
Wait,
little.
was that a podcast?
Yeah. What, this one?
Yeah, he was on Joe Rogan.
To do
Who was?
with
Gary
the
Gensler?
stock markets.
Kidding.
Office hours. Gary Gensler.
What is that?
Yeah.
Any football fan knows how
I love
important a
football.
yard is. But did you know that the definition of a yard has changed over time?
Yeah.
900 years ago,
Oh.
an English
I don't wanna watch
king.
He's got some
Henry
great.
I,
He's got some
eyebrows?
great B-roll.
They should fire his video editor and hire ours.
Here's and he also tweeted out a little synopsis of what you were saying.
Yeah.
So here, make no mistake, very few, if any, actually represent registered with the SEC.
Yeah.
Appreciate that there, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Mhm.
Thanks, Gigi. All right. Before we show you clips of CFTC, Rostin Benham.
We're the only one. We're the only channel that has this, by the way.
That's right.
You don't see some exclusive.
Tune in. Robin was actually there at the hearing. He was a ranking member.
I was, yeah.
He was. But first, couple things I want to talk about. First is some good news. Mt. Gox Bitcoin Whale Fund plans to hodl after choosing the September payout. According, so the Mt. Gox Investment Fund, which is Mt. Gox's largest creditor, has no plans to sell Bitcoin it will receive later this year. According to a March 9th report, they plan to retain the assets that are getting in September. The unnamed source said the fund will get 90% of what's collectible. This will be split in around 70% Bitcoin and 30% cash. Mt. Gox creditors have until Friday to decide on a September payout or wait for the possibility of better claims. So the largest fund is planning to hodl. That's good. Some not so good news is Hedera Network experiences technical irregularities, community alleges an exploit. Well, I got some good news because we got our friend Mance Harmon joining our show in about a week and a half, and we're going to ask him about this. So if you're a Hedera fan, put a 1 in the chat. So this is sourced from BN Crypto. Saucer Swap Labs, which is a DEX on Hedera, encouraged users to withdraw the liquidity immediately as an alleged ongoing exploit hit the blockchain. This is a tweet from them. An ongoing exploit have hit the Hedera network this morning. The exploit is targeting the decompiling process in smart contracts. At time of writing, attackers have hit Pangolin and Heliswap pools containing wrapped assets. We are unsure if other HTS tokens are at risk as well. The decompiling process that they refer to converts the contract's bytecode into more readable Solidity-like code, allowing for a better understanding. So, and in turn, Hedera's TVL dropped 25%, which obviously is to be expected because if your largest deck says withdraw liquidity, what do you think is going to happen? Robin, you have any comment on the 2 articles that I covered before we get into our super secret video footage?
Nah, as long as you don't lose a bunch of money, you're fine. I think, the Hedera network is still pretty new.
So you're not worried about Hedera?
No, they didn't go. It's not like the lights turned off and the whole network went down.
Whoa, man.
I'm just
Cheap
saying.
shots or what?
I'm just saying,
I
man.
mean, they're not cheap, but
No,
a lot
I
of
mean,
people-
we got to cover it. We got to discuss it. It's not nothing, but at the same time, it's just part of our everyday space. Things are gonna have hiccups. As long as you don't lose people's money, you know what? We're building, we're learning, and there's gonna be
leave that up there.
little hiccups.
Leave that up there. Matthew Barnes said, I bought XRP on KuCoin last night. It asked me why I was buying it. Weird. Anybody else get this question?
See, investment trading, illegal activity. Who would choose?
New anti-money laundering. But what is that? Why are you buying it?
That's
It's
how
like
you
a-
register with the SEC.
Like when you-
Oh,
When you go to that's like
think
when
it's
you
'cause
go
it's
to
in
one
a
of those
lawsuit?
like websites and they're like, "Are you 18?" and you're like, why would I hit no?
trying to see the good
Are you
stuff.
doing illegal activity with this crypto? Like, yes. Anyways,
All right.
and guys, hit the like button.
Robin, give some love to the chat before I show the videos. Go.
All right, so little shout out. If you're new here, say hello so we can drop an whole lot back at you. We got Minchie's PA, we got Rod, we got A Da Bomb, we got B and V Slim. Hola! Welcome to Sin City Crypto.
Damn, we straight tanking, bro.
All right, we're Bitcoin at
20,800. Not sure what that was, but
Yeah, what is that?
no idea. Here's what this is, though. So we're going to start with Senator Marshall, who is speaking to CFTC Chairman Rostin Benham. And Rob watched the whole thing. A lot of crypto was talked about.
Dude,
This wasn't a crypto meeting, correct?
So this was the Agriculture and Commodities Futures Committee. And so historically, they've discussed, just overarching commodities, but majority of it is, remember, commodities are also a lot of agriculture. So all of your poultry, beef, cattle, I always make fun of like, hey, what is the price of pork bellies? But like, these are all commodities, and corn's a commodity. Basically all the products that we use in agriculture and in farming are labeled as commodities. And so the CFTC has always been the go-to agency to make sure that there isn't manipulation in those markets, because same way you manipulate Bitcoin, people do manipulate the price of corn. And I don't say that jokingly. Like, that is actually historically one of the biggest manipulated commodities in U.S. history. So
It's
corn?
It's corn. That's right. So anyways, but this whole thing, so it's about an hour long. I would say over half of the dialogue, over half the questions were in regards to crypto. And surprisingly, there wasn't an overarching narrative that crypto's bad. So it was interesting. It was like an open discussion on crypto and regulation. Of course, they threw in fraud, but a lot of it was like, hey, we want the CFTC to be in the circle for regulation to help us police the bad actors, which would be the exchanges that are just spending your hard-earned crypto in a fraudulent way. And they basically want accountability, and they want the CFTC to step in. And they are even grilling Mr. Rostin about what is a security, what's not a security, what's a commodity, and what he thinks of Gary Gensler.
Oh, what do you think is the good answer? All right, so the first clip is from his interaction with Senator Marshall. So let's go ahead and hear.
Crypto for a second. When it comes to crypto, I've consistently said that my biggest concern is addressing the criminal activity that crypto facilitates. It's recently come to my attention that the world's largest crypto exchange, Binance, has set up a U.S.-based entity that internal executive has said is a, quote, de facto subsidiary, end quote, as a way to shield their main platform from regulations. This is the same platform where $2.35 billion in funds that we know about were laundered through their platform. This is concerning to say the least. Though I'm encouraged to see reports that the CFTC has multiple investigations into Binance for a number of different infractions, I would love to hear more about these efforts outside this hearing, of course, if we're able. Both before and after the collapse of FTX, there's been ongoing conversations about who should have regulatory oversight of cryptocurrencies, the SEC or the CFTC. Do you believe that the CFT has the resources and expertise necessary to bring these out-of-control crypto exchangers, the Wild West, as it's been called, who seem to think that they have the right to do whatever they want, into compliance?
Thank you, Senator. I have full confidence that we have the expertise and personnel to regulate the crypto markets. We also have
"We got
a legacy understanding of market regulation, which I think can be implied in many respects in the same way over to crypto markets. What we don't have is resources. So I think as this committee considers possible regulation.
So, hold on. He said he doesn't have resources. Well, can I recommend something? Can I recommend you maybe borrow some money from Gary Gensler and the SEC? They got $9 billion last year.
That's what they're saying. And so over the course and in the beginning of this, they were discussing the fact that they only get, their budget is $1 billion.
CFTC?
Yeah, compared to
the SEC.
the SEC, which I don't know what the number is.
What's a bigger market, securities market or the commodities market?
Oh, security market is
okay,
way,
so then that makes
way
sense.
bigger. Yeah.
Okay.
But at the same time, and he goes into saying that, like, he thinks that there should be a framework for digital assets that are outside of the securities laws. He's basically saying securities laws are outdated. We should make a crypto or digital asset guidelines for saying what a digital asset is.
Which is what we've all been saying.
Please.
For or statutory authority for crypto regulation, I think it would be incumbent for us to have additional resources to implement and impose that regulatory system over the crypto markets.
I'm not sure it's a fair question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about the crypto industry right now?
7.5.
Thank you. I yield back.
Oh, listen. Here it comes.
All right. Thank you very much. Senator Brown.
Sir Marshall, I'm as chair of the Banking Housing Committee. I'm at 8.2.
8.2.
So
He's
I throw that
8.2.
in. All right. Okay. Well,
Damn. So Sherrod Brown from California, not a crypto fan. He is the head of the
Senate Banking Committee,
which Elizabeth Warren sits on as well. 8.2, I'm worried. Okay. So what are you worried about? These are issues you can fix, right? But you guys can't get together and agree on something because you're too busy trying to divide people.
Yeah.
And push your BS ideological thinking and narratives on people to divide people.
Well, like watching this, we realized that there's 3 bills that are up for a vote right now. So there's the DDC, I think it is, and then the Gillibrand bill, and then
the
one other as well. And so legislation has been written. It just needs to be agreed upon and voted. And the Lummis bill, I'm telling you, man, sounds promising.
It's funny, and she's the one that speaks the most confidently about how Bitcoin and crypto works. And so, anyways, all right, this next exchange is with Senator Tuberville, with CFTC chair. So let's go ahead and play this video.
The lack of progress by the CFTC and the SEC to define which crypto tokens are commodities and which tokens are securities is an issue. It prevents more crypto futures contracts from coming to market. Are you having these conversations with the SEC, and has the SEC offered legal opinions as to what it views as a commodity and what it views as security?
Thanks, Senator. Just to answer the first part of the question, without hesitation, I myself am working closely with my counterpart and staff in my office and across the agency is consistently and constantly working with the agency, the SEC, to ensure that we're coordinating in a meaningful way. We do not have necessarily any legal guidance from the SEC, but we are thinking about how we could work together, which we've done historically in a number of other markets, to ensure consistency, clarity, and transparency for the market. But I think, as you recognize, this is a very difficult issue, and in many respects, we can lean on legacy precedent to define a digital asset, whether it's a commodity or a digital security. But in many respects, also, there are characteristics of digital assets that are very unique from traditional assets, and they do need a sort of new way of thinking. And I think it would be incumbent for both regulators and the executive branch to work with Congress to ensure that we establish a framework that we can all get behind.
I like this dude, bro.
That we can all get behind.
Doesn't he remind you of the what's the villain in Superman? Was it Lex Luthor? Or
Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor.
You know, I've been corrected. Crypto Billy. Sherrod Brown's from Ohio, not California. That's my apologies. Sounds like he's from California. And I know that because I lived there. I hated it. Also, wasn't Tommy Tuberville the coach for Auburn? He was a football coach. The guy who was asking him the question. He was. Tommy Tuberville.
I remember. I forgot all about that.
War Eagle, Roll Tide.
Right. So what do you think about that? So you have the CFTC chair saying, hey, we don't have the resources or the money. That's why he's in front of the committee. That this is actually more of a budget proposal discussion. So he's sitting in front of the Senate saying, hey, we want some more money so that way we can regulate crypto. And that wasn't the actual agenda, but that's kind of what it boiled down to. Was them saying the importance of CFTC, and they discuss agriculture, but they were saying like, hey, we're underfunded. They haven't reevaluated their allocation for taxes. You know, they haven't realized how much money they're paying them since 2008. So it's been 15 years since they've decided to give them more cash. And so now they're saying, hey, because we're underfunded, we can't regulate crypto. SEC over here, Gary Gensler got the guns out, funds out.
I like that. Guns out, funds out. There's 225 people in here. I know some of you have never been here before.
Are we gonna get to 250 today?
If you've never been here before, say hello. We want to personally welcome you. Also, I see my friend Cozy Babe in here from Frankie Candle Stream.
Is that your babe?
No, that's someone else's babe because she talked about her husband yesterday, so I will not disrespect her husband like that.
For sure.
I also have a babe, and she has a babe. But we can be friends here.
Are you throwing a B at the end of the babe?
Babes.
No, babes.
Hey. Anyways, so Tommy Tuberville continued his speech or his questioning with the Honorable Rossin Benham.
And regulate cryptocurrency in a way that protects consumers and encourages innovation within the United States. When you look at the three main bills, and you know which, Stabenow, Bozeman, Loomis, Gillibrand, and the House Ag bill, do you have a view on which bill gives us the best clarity of regs?
Great
Senator,
question.
They all have components of it which I think are very beneficial, and I think ultimately when I think about the intent of the bills, it's to create transparency, it's to regulate the market, it's to shed light on those markets so that we don't run into situations like we did a few months ago. I would say that specifically the Gillibrand Lummis bill is very expansive, and I think that's in part because Senator Lummis is on the
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to pause it real quick because a thought just came to me and I'll forget because I have squirrel brain.
Squirrel.
Rob, so FTX Japan withdrawals opened up, correct?
Yes.
What did Japan do differently, Robin? What has Japan done?
Related.
What has Japan done that it allowed people who had money on FTX Japan, a company that filed for bankruptcy,
it's very
to
simple.
withdraw their money?
You're very simple. You run an exchange, you need to have customer funds accountable. And
if I was Joe Biden or Gary Gensler, I'd pick up the damn phone. I'd be like, hey, Japan.
Hey, right?
What did you guys do? How were people able to withdraw their money?
I will say that Japan, because of the regulation, it's a little further than what we would like, right? It's hard to get tokens listed.
Why are we always so behind on everything?
But it's hard to get tokens listed. System. There's only I think at one point there's 24 tokens that were openly traded. It took Cardano 4 years to get listed in Japan in the major exchanges. Not to say that you can't get it on through DeFi, but
they had guardrails in place to allow people to withdraw their money. Whether it was only Bitcoin or only Ethereum or 500 cryptos, people were able to withdraw.
That's right.
Like, if you have no idea what you're doing, look around you and see what people are doing that works. It's common sense. When we started this YouTube channel, we were like, what are the most successful channels doing? Because we've never done this before. Okay, let's take a little piece of that. Let's take a little piece of that. I'll throw our spin on it. Here we are today, year and a half later. But it doesn't seem our government can do the same.
But when you're the biggest in the room, and we've seen it time and time again, like you look at the
then
likes,
that's even more embarrassing.
No, you look at the likes of the Jamie Dimons, the big CEOs of these banks, is that they're arrogant because they're at the top of their game. They don't need to look at another industry and say, what are they doing? They're like, I'm hot shit here, bro. I can do what I want. F the crypto markets. I got this. And little do you know that the coming revolution of crypto is here.
Preach, brother.
It is here, bro, dude. And if you stand up and you fight against the evils of America.
Okay, all right. We're getting a little crazy here.
Hit that like button.
Hit the like button. All right, let's go back to what Mr. Benham said. And this is, so he left off talking about the Gillibrand bill, right? Which is the one that we like, which gets rid of the broker thing, that everyone's a broker and everyone's got a freaking, everyone's got a KYC. Miners have the KYC. Ledger has the KYC. People who buy their wallets, complete BS. So here we go.
Banking committee, and she has a larger view of the crypto markets. But having worked with this committee on the DCCPA, which is Senator Stabenow and Bozeman's bill, that is very narrowly tailored to the CFTC, what authority we have and what's jurisdictional to our markets, which is commodity digital tokens as well. The House bill is also very good. I think there's some challenges that I have spoken with members on the House side about making sure that we have federal oversight to create a single market system for the crypto industry.
What? I would just add the correct answer is the Stabenow-Bozeman bill.
He's straddling the fence, Madam Chair. He's a pretty good politician. Can the CFTC currently block a Chinese company from buying a U.S. crypto exchange, or is legislation needed to prevent that type of transaction from happening?
So, Senator, assuming that other parts of the U.S. government would not get in the way or make a decision that would prevent that acquisition, the CFTC alone does not have the authority to prevent an acquisition of that type.
Thank you. Do you see similarities between crypto markets and foreign currency exchange markets?
Well, I actually don't, because foreign currency exchange markets, on the derivative side are very well regulated. This, if nothing else, are lessons learned. We had this committee took up provisions around the retail Forex market about 15 years ago. And I would say a lessons learned from that exercise, because leading up to that legislation.
So that's actually the second time they're referencing foreign exchange, right? And we opened up with, hey, Binance has a shell company, Binance.us, and they're operating in a fraudulent way by having their U.S. branch here, being an overseas company without complying with U.S. regulation, which doesn't exist, by the way. But I'm just saying that they have a target on Binance's back, right? And then here you have, what's to stop? Did you not hear that? What's to stop a Chinese company from buying a U.S. exchange? Sounds very similar to what Binance is doing with Voyager. I know Voyager is a Canadian exchange, but I'm just saying that seems like a lot of the narrative here is a pushback against Binance and foreign exchange. And
I said this on Frankie's stream on Monday. He asked me about is BNB token safe, right, to buy? And my answer was I would stay away from anything Binance related, not because I think they're doing anything wrong, but because I think the U.S. government, the SEC, they're hunting them, they're waiting, and they're building a case, and so that I would be careful. So huge shout out to our man Jimmy. Gifting out 10 memberships. Jimmy, we love you.
And we also got a couple new people here as well. We have Pedro Palladino. Dibsy, Kojo Barima, and Dennis J. To you. Hola! Welcome to Sin City Crypto.
Now, Robin, give us a little clue. There's one more clip I want to show. This is from Senator Gillibrand.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a little sneak peek, a little content.
Well, she's the
What we're
one.
about to listen
So
to.
it's her and Cynthia Lummis that have drawn up the bill that has garnered the most support from the crypto community. It's the one that gives more clarity to what is essentially a security, what is a commodity, and then on top of that, they want to have the inclusion of the CFTC in regulation and remove some of the overreaching powers that the SEC has. And so we have the author of the bill, the senator that drew it up, her and Cynthia Lummis here discussing with the CFTC some regulation. So.
Jimmy gifted another 10. So Cozy Babe in here was like, I really want a membership. And so the first 10 he gifted, she didn't get one. And so he's like, screw it, I'll gift another 10. And then she got one. So congratulations to all of you that are now members of this channel. And thanks to Jimmy. Feel free to renew it if you find it. The emojis are valuable for you. All right. So here's the final clip from the hearing at the Senate Agricultural and Committee of Committees with Senator Gillibrand.
Committee of Committees, huh?
Yeah. A lot of committees I can't keep track.
Time to write a bill with Senator Lummis to provide that comprehensive framework. I'd like your assessment of that draft. We're doing a new draft that'll be released mid-April, but our ambition is to make sure there is a place to start a national conversation about a holistic approach to digital assets, to make sure that digital assets that have the character of securities are regulated by the SEC, to have the assets that have the indicia of commodities are regulated by the CFTC, to make sure stablecoins can be overseen by the OCC, to make sure that there are tax provisions for the entire industry, to make sure there are cybersecurity requirements for every part of the industry. So I'd like your assessment of the direction of that bill and ways that we can continue to improve upon it. You and I have met about this, but I'd like your insights for the record, because before we introduce the new version of this bill, I'd like your thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. As you point out, and I said this, I remember months ago at an event, what was most important to me in terms of the success of your bill with Senator Lummis and getting it out there is really pushing the conversation, right? Because naturally the bill will get amended and get pushed in different directions, but I thought you very carefully and thoughtfully considered all components of the market, not just something that obviously is resonates with me as a market regulator on the market side, but thinking about the stablecoin issues, thinking about settlement, thinking about custody, thinking about cybersecurity risks. So comprehensive in that nature. I think given what we experienced and what we saw with FTX, a premium on obviously segregation of assets, on customer conflicts of interest and ensuring that those conflicts are walled off very carefully. I think there are different questions that we probably have to ask in many respects with respect to digital assets in light of cybersecurity, vendor risk, third-party service providers. So I would just emphasize those are some components that might be worth looking at or taking a second look to ensure that we don't run into another situation like we did a few months ago.
Thank you. In light of Chairman Gensler's recent suggestion that all digital assets except for Bitcoin are securities, what does that mean for a number of designated contract markets currently offering futures or swaps on Ether?
Well, it would obviously raise questions about the legality of those DCMs, designated contract markets, listing these digital assets that are purported to be securities. I've made the argument that Ether is a commodity. It's been listed on CFTC.
What?
So earlier he said we've been in communication with the SEC and we work with them, but we take no legal advice. That was a disclaimer, right? That's like when you got in a fight with somebody, be like, yo, that's my childhood friend. We grew up together. Then I had to punch him in the mouth. And so here you have, what started off, yes, it's another department. We worked together historically. And now here you have somebody saying, we labeled this damn thing as a commodity. And the SEC don't know what the hell they're talking about. We stand by our call, and that's what it is. Right?
Yeah. The SEC was saying ether is a security or is a commodity, and then they went to proof of stake, and now they're walking back. Also want to give a shout out to Bullish Kenny G for gifting 1 Sin City Crypto membership. We appreciate you, my friend. Don't feel bad. Not everyone's got the portfolio Jimmy does. If you're in our whale group, Jimmy shares his portfolio all the time. Dude's smart. He's a smart investor, except AMP. AMP is not a very smart investment. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but if you're a whale member, you should scroll up a little bit in the Discord and you'll find it. Interesting. Maybe I'll share mine in there one day.
But you heard his last call. Ethereum is a commodity. Or he said ether.
Should we leave it at that, Robin, or is there more?
No.
There's more?
He talks about stablecoins.
All right.
Huge.
Well, let's hear then. Let's hear.
CFTC exchanges for quite some time. And for that reason, it creates a very direct jurisdictional hook for us to police, obviously, the derivatives market, but also the underlying market as well.
And as a regulator, how do you respond to such a position, given that the SEC interprets the federal securities law? If there is this competition for oversight, what tools do you have to respond to that, given that you have been listed, you have been having oversight over Ether under the securities market?
So, Senator,
under the commodities market.
Yeah, Senator, it's an important question because the process for which an exchange or DCM, as you pointed out, will list a contract is very clear under our law. They could seek approval by the commission or they could self-certify a product. That self-certification process is one that shifts the responsibility to both the CFTC and the market participant. And I would say serious and deep legal analysis goes into the thought process before a product is self-certified. So there's no doubt in my mind, and having known this and been at the commission when Ether futures were listed, that both the exchange and the commission thought very deeply and thoughtfully about what is the product and does it fall within the regime, the commodity regime or the security regime. We would not have allowed the product, in this case the Ether futures product, to be listed on a CFTC exchange if we did not feel strongly that it was a commodity asset, because we have litigation risk, we have agency credibility risk if we do something
we
like that.
wouldn't have listed it
without serious legal defense or defenses to sort of
They
support our
say
argument
that he's
asset is a
willing to go to
commodity.
bat.
Thank you.
He's willing to go to bat,
regard to
saying
Chairman
that, hey, we wouldn't have listed it on our commodities futures exchange if we didn't do our due diligence and if we did not, through law, understand that it was a commodity. And so you have somebody sitting here saying, hey, we call it a commodity and we're ready to go to bat. We're ready to go to bat. We're ready to support our decision. It doesn't stop there either.
Gensler's position for CFTC's 2021 settlement with Tether, the undertakings of which I presume you're still monitoring. So how do you address those kinds of issues?
Again, Senator, it's, in speaking about stable coins themselves, because there's a larger question about what direction stable coins should go in terms of regulation. And as you pointed out in the bill that you co-drafted with Senator Lummis, and I agree with this, that stable coins are and should be prudentially regulated financial instruments. Notwithstanding a regulatory framework around stablecoins, they're going to be commodities, in my view. I know, colleagues might have a different opinion, but we've done the legal analysis and examining the circumstances around the Tether case. It was clear to our enforcement team and the commission that Tether stablecoin was a commodity, and we needed to move forward and swiftly to police that market. And
Tether's
that
a commodity, bro.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
He said stable coins are a commodity. Tether's a commodity. Is BUSD a commodity? Because SEC says it's a security. They told Paxos, you cannot print, you cannot make more BUSD. You need to cease operations because you are issuing a security. And you have the CFTC chair saying stable coins are commodities. That is not homegrown stable coins, because he literally said Tether, a foreign, where is that? Singapore?
Not sure.
They have ties to China. I know that. But either way, Tether, he says, is a commodity. How far different is Tether versus BUSD? It might not have been what they wanted. I think what was surprising is that the CFTC has a long-standing determination that Ethereum is a commodity, right? This is no surprise here. Now, you've had a pushback ever since we transitioned to proof of stake, where the SEC is saying will not acknowledge that Ethereum is a commodity. Now, they've fallen short of calling it a security, but the whispers are going around the room. But what we did not expect was for the CFTC chair to come out and say that stable coins are a commodity. It makes sense when you think about it, but you know, with the legal action that the SEC has taken as of lately, it is a surprise to hear another branch pushing back on that. So there you go.
My worry is how much say does the CFTC have, right? How much pull do they have with government officials? Obviously, you know, I don't know. Are they being loud enough? Because how much digging do you have to do to find these videos?
Here's the thing, though. The CFTC chair, Mr. Roaston here, he's
Rostin.
You know, you both have been roasting, but he's been talking to and being an integral member of developing the regulation that is coming. Who does not have a seat at the table, and who is making up the rules themselves? Who is policing by enforcement and by a sheer of mystery? It's the SEC. And so the SEC is not sitting here putting together, because that's what we've been saying this whole time. There's no clarity. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. And the SEC refuses to step up to the table and have these discussions. And the CFTC is. And so I think that perhaps a couple years from now, the roles may be reversed. And the SEC takes a back seat when it comes to crypto.
SEC back seat. All right, we're done. Guys, check out our social medias. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Discord, everything else.
And also a couple of new people, Shane O and also Tony C. Hola! Welcome, Sin City Crypto. And we have a last second super chat. $1.99 from Overcome. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my friend.
Muchas
also,
gracias.
if you're a WHALE member, you get 10% off our merch store, not just Sin City merch, but just general crypto merch. And guys, go watch our last video we did, top 3 altcoins you should not ignore for 2023. So to all of you that are your first time here, welcome. To all of you that came back, welcome back. And please come back tomorrow. It's Forest Friday. If the markets continue to bleed, I know we didn't really go over a lot of charts today. I don't think we went over any charts today. We didn't even look at the markets today. You know why?
It was one of those days. The market's down. We didn't want to look at it.
No, because we need to stay informed, guys. Markets are going down. Let's stay informed. What's going on, right? We know you're going to buy. We know you're going to sell.
You know what day we're going to look at the markets? It'll be
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
So that being said, Kyler.